Good evening. It's Wednesday, August 5th. This is CTV News at 6. Todd Battis is off tonight. I'm Jesse Thomas. Making news. Millions in illegal cigarettes seized in New Brunswick. Why the province says the black market is costing the government millions. And after years of water issues, residents at a Nova Scotia seniors home have their water back.
Hot and humid weather ahead for both Thursday and Friday, with some change expected on the weekend.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Jesse Thomas.
New Brunswick is reporting millions of illegal cigarettes seized in May and June. The province's public safety minister says those sales would equal hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost tax revenue that could go instead to health care and education spending. CTV's Anna Mandan has more.
The provincial government is lauding its efforts in curbing illicit tobacco sales, with the announcement of millions of cigarettes seized so far this year.
There's a lot of money in this, and usually a lot of money attracts crime.
According to provincial officials, between May 15th and June 15th, the province seized 4.3 million cigarettes in 3 separate investigations, equivalent to $1.1 million in tax revenue. Those seizures make up roughly half of the 8.27 million contraband cigarettes seized so far this year, amounting to over $3.7 million in federal and provincial tax revenue.
It's a lot of tax revenue for the province, retailers, so that's why we are doing what we're doing.
And it's not just tax dollars at stake. The Atlantic representative of the Convenience Industry Council of Canada says it's also loss of business and customers for legal tobacco sellers.
If we're seeing busts where they're getting 4.3 million cigarettes, then we know that there is a considerable amount of more product that's out there in the environment.
This comes after an increase of $1.2 million in provincial funding aimed at reducing illicit tobacco sales. Government says this is about more than cigarettes, because the illegal tobacco trade can help fund other types of crime.
Criminal organizations are opportunistic. They do not have, or do they limit themselves to one commodity or one jurisdiction.
Government says New Brunswick is far from the only province dealing with the issue, and that interprovincial collaboration alongside federal counterparts is key.
The province and territories are divided by lines on the map. Criminal activity is not.
As for curbing the spread, Forward says to watch out for colorful packages rather than the provincially mandated colorless brown packs and those without provincial stamps or health warnings. Anna Mandan, CTV News, Fredericton.
And an unscheduled overnight price adjustment has people paying less to fill up at the pumps in Nova Scotia and in New Brunswick. In Nova Scotia's Zone 1, gas fell by 10.4 cents per litre. The minimum price is on your screen there, now $1.80.2. And diesel dropped by 9.4 cents a litre. The minimum price now at $2.29.8. The Nova Scotia Energy Board said yesterday the adjustments was needed due to a significant shift in the market price. Over in New Brunswick, gas fell by 7 cents a litre. The maximum price now $1.85.6, and diesel decreased by 6.1 cents. The minimum there now $2.38.4. Prices on PEI didn't change overnight, but are scheduled to change tonight, however. And residents at a seniors' home in Nova Scotia are letting out a sigh of relief now that they have running water again. Problems with the water supply had been occurring for years, according to those living there. CTV's Vanessa Wright has more.
It's what people living at this senior's home are calling a classic case of neglect. No running water in the kitchen, bathroom, or any units since yesterday.
It was going on for 5 years, but the last 3 years, it has declined so quickly to last night, we were without water for over 15 hours.
About 25 residents live at Spruce Grove Apartments. Those we spoke to say they were already unable to use the water after it was tested for lead. The building now runs on well water, but that stopped working. Residents have been using bottled water.
We have seniors who go get a shower They put shampoo in their hair. When they're lathered up and everything, all of a sudden the water stops. They have to go get the bottles of drinking water. They have to make a couple of trips because they need about 6 to 8 bottles to drain their hair. I don't understand how come we don't have more broken bones in here.
Don Watts lives with cancer and was in the middle of a shower when the water stopped.
I was thinking, oh yeah, here we go. And I stood there for 10 minutes, hanging onto the rails.
Some of my kids live handy, and I took my laundry and done my showers there to help the residents in here that don't have that opportunity.
And water isn't the only problem here. Residents say they've expressed concerns about leaking windows, a bad generator, and a lack of yard maintenance, just to name a few.
A spokesperson for the Nova Scotia Provincial Housing Agency says the problem is now fixed, telling CTV News in a statement there is no issue with the water quality at the building. While Spruce Grove has experienced some challenges with water supply, these are not unusual for an area that is largely served by wells. The issue reported at Spruce Grove last evening is related to a mechanical failure with the well system. Repairs were completed this afternoon.
They had years to fix this. And now they're trying to fix it 24 hours? Like, seriously?
I hope it stays fixed so no one is without this basic need. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Porters Lake, Nova Scotia.
And meanwhile, there's a boil water advisory for residents of Louisbourg after officials say a major water main break has disrupted the supply. CBRM says those in the area should bring the water to a rolling boil for at least 1 minute before drinking, preparing baby formula, washing produce, or even brushing teeth. They say some residents may see low or no water pressure while repairs are being made. The Fortress of Louisbourg, the National Historic Site, announced it'll be closed for the day because of the water line break. The advisory is in effect until further notice and does not apply to residents on private wells. And we've entered another stretch of hot, humid weather for much of the Maritimes. Maritimers could see temperatures reach into the mid-30s over the coming days, and while some can escape the heat, many are doing the best they can.
I always make sure my flaggers or my crew gets their proper breaks. When it's hot like this, I try to do 15 minutes on and then half hour on, 15 minutes off, and make sure they stay well hydrated. Try to get them in the truck with the AC as much as we can.
The weather is expected to improve for some areas over the weekend, with less than warm, cooler temperatures perhaps. Anyways, here's a live look at Moncton, where it's a stifling 33 degrees still. Let's get our first look at the weather. For that, we go to CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell. Hey, Kaylin, hot one out there, eh?
Oh, it certainly is. So far, Jesse, on Environment Canada monitored weather stations, the hottest spot in the Maritimes today has been Miramichi, 34 degrees. I had 35 in the forecast yesterday. Might not squeak out that last degree, but it's also the hottest spot in the country so far for today. Now, I did get some personal weather station reports from parts of New Brunswick. Scott in Cambridge Narrows. I want to thank Scott very much for sending that in. Temperature at 35 degrees. So lots in the high 20s, low 30s for today, and a few that might have approached that mid-30 mark. And it's still very warm. Well, it's hot out there this evening. And with the humidity, humidex values are making it feel in many cases well into the 30s. And now at Miramichi, humidex value making it feel closer to 40. And this weather's going to be ongoing for the next couple of days. But there's changes ahead. So let's talk about that. When do things change? Well, it changes as this ridge in the jet stream begins to break down. That's that movement of the jet stream up towards the north. All this hot and humid air kind of bubbled up underneath it. It begins to break down on the weekend at the same time as a low pressure system and a couple of weather fronts move in from the west. And the combination brings temperatures down a couple of degrees, so humidity levels will remain higher through the weekend. The other thing that, of course, is going to happen, though, is we see that change. We see these weather fronts move in. We are going to get into some showers with a risk of some thunderstorms. Coverage of the showers on Saturday right now looks like they're going to be more isolated around the region, and then showers more widespread on the Sunday. So there are changes ahead, but not until the weekend. Taking a look at the outlook for tonight, one of the advantages we have when we're underneath this area of high pressure is some very clear night skies. It's going to be a very clear and warm night across the Maritimes. Kind of perfect conditions to do some night sky viewing. It's a waning gibbous moon, 53% illuminated. That'll be above the eastern horizon with the planet Saturn after midnight. So you have to stay up late to see those two objects above the eastern horizon. If you are up early, though, and looking off towards the east, you may be able to spot the planet Mars. And if you're out there doing some night sky viewing and you happen to notice a shooting star or two, that is likely part of the Perseids meteor shower, which will be reaching its peak a little bit later on, August 12th to 13th. The radiant point for that is near the constellation Perseus, and that will be high over the northeastern horizon late at night, though the meteors can be seen basically across the night sky. I'll have more in the forecast, though, Jesse, coming up a little bit later on.
Great. Thanks, Kellen. We'll look forward to that in around 15 minutes' time or so. Now, proposals to build a dozen apartment buildings in Halifax went before the public today in a series of engagement sessions. Up to 4,600 units could be built over the next 25 years in one of the biggest land development projects ever to hit the capital city. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has the story.
It's a big property, nearly 12 hectares, and there are big plans for it.
Come here and you see some of the plans, and it's just amazing what is in store for Halifax over the course of the next 30 years.
Two developers have submitted proposals for up to 4,615 new residential units, as well as commercial and office spaces on an area between Windsor, Yonge, Roby, and Almond Streets.
This area has a lot of, existing services that are really close by, and it has a lot of potential for new services as well.
The block, which for decades was the site of the old Piercy's property, is now known as the Yonge Street lands. It was designated as a future growth node back in 2021. Proposal 1 has one building, up to 33 stories high, going up on the old Mayflower Curling Club site. The second includes 11 towers ranging from 12 to 52 stories tall. All of it was discussed today at public engagement sessions where residents could offer feedback.
I think it's a great way to increase density without kind of taking away any historic value in Halifax.
Aesthetically, look at what you're doing, that it always looks attractive as opposed to just a cement city of tower apartments.
Bill Hughes was particularly interested in the proposals. He and his wife moved into a building adjacent to the curling club 7 years ago. They're now hoping to move into a newer model when it's ready.
That's the plan, because a new building will now have the view that we presently have. The new building will take it away.
Feedback from the public sessions will help form final proposals, which will be presented at City Council for approval. And Jesse, for anyone not able to attend today's sessions, surveys are available online at Engage Halifax until August 23rd.
All right, thanks for that, John. That's CTV's Jonathan McGuinness reporting live in the North End, just off Roby Street in Halifax tonight. More calls tonight to fix gaps within services for vulnerable people in New Brunswick. Today, 3 unions say their calls for action are being ignored by government. CTV Nick Moore has more on that.
The unions representing social workers, nursing home employees, and educational support staff in New Brunswick sent a letter to the provincial government on July 22nd, demanding action for what it called a broken social system, which they say is negatively affecting the most vulnerable.
We respectfully allowed time for government to respond, all levels of government to respond, but we hadn't received a response. The sole response we received was from Kelly Lamrock, the senior and youth advocate.
Lamrock has issued scathing reports in recent months detailing systemic failures within the Department of Social Development. This afternoon's news conference included Peter Oliver, a 62-year-old living in a long-term care home, who says workers are not given enough time to care for patients properly.
The big issue is the government's calculation of what it takes
to do the different activities.
We're stretched to the limits of what it is that we can provide. You know, you're leaving at the end of the day not feeling that you've provided the quality of life that our seniors so deserve.
The unions say the urgent issue of workload is being ignored by the provincial government, adding that public pressure is building.
We saw this in Nova Scotia. A premier made a decision to cut services to a vulnerable population. That population uprose and decisions were reversed. So hopefully people can say, listen, it's okay that we got it wrong, but we're going to get it right.
In a statement tonight, Social Development Minister Cindy Miles says the concerns of frontline workers are being taken seriously. Miles says the letters have been received and are being evaluated. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
And beluga whales are not often seen in waters around here, but when they are, they certainly draw a crowd. And the sighting of beluga whales comes just barely a week after an orca or a killer whale caused quite a sensation when it was spotted near the Canso Causeway. CTV's Ryan McDonald has more.
For the second time in as many weeks, a species of whale not often seen in the Maritimes has made its way to Cape Breton waters.
It's fantastic, actually. My little girl and I are here from Ontario, and we seen this online and decided to come and see the whale.
People gathered today at the marina in St. Peter's, where the Department of Fisheries and Oceans says 2 belugas have been spotted in the Bredor Lake.
This is amazing. This is out in the free.
Capturing video of this beluga from shore proved to be a bit difficult, but 11-year-old Liam Groom got lucky.
I started a video a couple minutes ago. I think I just got him.
Now, of course, it was only a week and a half or so ago that a rare killer whale, an orca, made an appearance near the Canso Causeway. Some people I spoke with here today at the marina in St. Peter's said they missed the orca that time, regretted it a bit, and came here to see the beluga today to try for some redemption of sorts.
Oh my God!
The orca at the causeway drew crowds of people too. As for belugas, DFO says those that end up here every so often are likely from the endangered St. Lawrence estuary population.
There was one in Ingonish quite a few years back.
In fact, there were at least 2 back in July 2018. Shortly before that, a pod of 7 orcas was captured on video by fisheries officers. The belugas near Ingonish 8 years ago seemed interested in people, but some folks got a bit too close.
And people used to swim out, they could hold on to him. Well, I think they got after them like for that, because he's a wild animal.
DFO says it's important for the beluga's safety not to interact with them and to follow the marine mammal regulations by staying at least 100 meters away. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, St. Peter's, Nova Scotia.
And still to come tonight, the heat continues. More hot weather ahead this week. Kayla Mitchell will have all those details. But up next, a look back at the legacy of a longtime and former CTV anchor, Lloyd Robertson, who passed away last night at the age of 92. We'll be back with more news after the break.
This is the Campfire Conditions Report brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. In the province of New Brunswick, we now have some counties with restricted hours for campfires, and they would be permitted between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Those counties are Carleton, York, Charlotte, Sunbury, Queens, Northumberland, and Kent counties. Other counties in the north of New Brunswick and around the south and southeast, campfires are allowed at any time. For the province of Nova Scotia, much of the province is allowed to have a campfire between the hours of 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. However, you are currently not allowed to have a campfire in Guysborough County or Antigonish County. And for the province of Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently allowed with domestic brush burning permitted between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. for Prince and Queens County, but no domestic brush burning allowed for Kings County. The next update to these provincial restrictions will be at 2 p.m. on August 6th.
Welcome back. As you've no doubt heard by now, Lloyd Robertson, the longest-serving news anchor in North America, who led CTV's national newscast for 35 years, died last night at the age of 92. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin has more on his remarkable career and legacy.
So that's the kind of day it's been on this Thursday.
Along with that nightly sign-off.
Hello.
Lloyd Robertson offered generations of viewers a connection to the world.
I'm Lloyd Robertson. We'll see how the world came to Canada.
His authoritative voice was a landmark of the Canadian broadcast landscape for over 6 decades.
I'm Lloyd Robertson, and I used to live here.
Robertson's early years in Stratford, Ontario shaped his lifelong love of news. He recounted he was bitten by the broadcasting bug when he was a boy. He was watching local radio hosts at CJCS describe the Perth Regiment marching home from the Second World War.
This is Lloyd Robertson.
In high school, he got a job at CJCS. And it's also in high school that he met Nancy Barrett. She would become his wife in 1956 and mother of his 4 daughters. Robertson graduated, continued to spin records and read news until he knocked on CBC's door.
I was hired by the CBC. My voice got me through.
He moved to his first TV job in Winnipeg, going national a few months later on Christmas Day, 1956.
Who do you like, Charlotte?
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley.
Robertson then worked in Ottawa before heading to Toronto.
We interrupt this program.
He said he fully understood his role in 1963 with the Kennedy assassination, marking the first big event where people tuned into TV rather than radio for breaking news.
I felt that I was now involved in something that really mattered to people. Television news.
Good evening. President Nixon's state visit to Ottawa.
Robertson worked his way to the CBC's flagship news show, The National. But eventually, he grew frustrated with his editorial role.
I was in the wrong union. I couldn't write. I couldn't edit. I could not participate in any way when I did a daily newscast.
Robertson is leaving the CBC after 22 years.
He signed on to CTV in 1976, co-anchoring with then-host Harvey Kirk.
Good evening. Lloyd Robertson joins us tonight for CTV News.
Bringing, says his longtime friend journalist Craig Oliver, instant credibility.
That's Lloyd's legacy. He took this news department and put it on the map.
The partnership lasted until 1984, when Kirk retired from the anchor desk and Robertson became senior news anchor.
To me, it was the equivalent of being knighted.
Throughout his career, Robertson often said he had the rare privilege of having a front row seat to history.
Here's our summary of Apollo 11's Space Odyssey.
Diana and Charles played their parts. What is there left to say but thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody. Tonight, face-to-face with...
When he retired from the anchor desk in 2011, it marked the end of an era, said then Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
You've been delivering the news since I was barely more than a boy. You've been doing it for so long and so authoritatively. You've almost become part of Canada's geography.
Welcome back to W5.
Robertson continued to work for CTV's W5 for a time and proved in 2018 that you can't take the news out of a news anchor.
And I was able to walk away from this. And it's a pretty bad accident, as accidents go, and of accidents I've covered over the years myself.
That's him reporting live on his own car accident.
Longtime anchor of CTV News, he has gained public trust for his integrity.
He received numerous recognitions, the Order of Canada, a Doctor of Laws from BC's Royal Roads University. A park was named after him.
I'm about to be yesterday's news.
He often said the greatest honor of his life was to chronicle the times, the events that marked Canada and the world for so long.
And that's the kind of day it's been. I'm Lloyd Robertson. For all of us here at CTV News, good night. It strikes me that if you find something you love to do,
hi guys,
and you are able to do it, that's about as good as it gets in life.
Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News.
And of course, Lloyd Robertson made many trips here to the Maritimes over the years, covering stories and as a guest on our own Christmas Daddies telethon many times. In 2011, just before Lloyd signed off the CTV National News for the last time, he spoke with our very own Steve Murphy about his career.
Steve, I thank you very much, and I also want to thank all the people through the Maritimes who have sent emails and letters to me. It's interesting because some of them talk about watching the news with their mothers and fathers. Mm-hmm. Now they're doing it with their children. It's very touching. It's quite emotional. It almost takes, tears me up to think about that. But it's very touching, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart.
And you can watch the whole interview Steve did with Lloyd in 2011 on the Video Vault section on our website, as well as another interview with Steve that he did with Lloyd in 2012 when he released his memoir. That's all on our website. Now, still to come, hot and humid. Kalen's back with his full forecast. Just a perfect warm afternoon along the water's edge at Hackett's Cove, Nova Scotia. Stay tuned. Weather's coming up next. Okay, there we go. Welcome back. A little spoiler alert. This is the perfect warm afternoon at the water's edge of Hackett's Cove, Nova Scotia. Picture perfect scene right there. That's the Maritimes.
That's our postcard moment for the night, Jesse.
Yeah. What it doesn't say there is it's hot and certainly humid.
Oh, is it ever? We're feeling that in the studio this evening here.
Yeah, a little bit of sweat happening.
Yeah, and I'm certainly be feeling it when I step out on the weather deck at the end of the program for tonight. Let's begin, though, with a little bit of comparison and contrast to conditions here in the Maritimes to other parts of the country. There is some warmth out west. You can see lots of temperatures now as they're into the afternoon in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, into the 20s. There are air quality advisories contending with wildfire smoke in the south of BC. Up in the north right now, it's 22 at Whitehorse. Significantly cooler, though, and cloudy at Yellowknife, sitting at 12 degrees. And Iqaluit is sitting at 8 and reporting some rain. Now, there's some heat in parts of southern Ontario and southern Quebec. We're kind of sharing that with those two provinces. Though so far today, as I mentioned, at this hour at least, at Environment Canada monitored weather stations, Miramichi and New Brunswick has been the hottest spot in the country. 34 degrees. Fredericton right now sitting at 32, Halifax at 31, Charlottetown sitting at 28, and St. John's right now reporting some rain and sitting at 17. The heat warning still in effect for all three maritime provinces. In most cases, these are expected to extend into Friday, and then temperatures may come down a few degrees on Saturday, though the chance of showers and a risk of some thunderstorms, then a few degrees more on Sunday with a higher chance of showers and again a risk of thunderstorms. We talked about that earlier, the shift in the weather pattern that may bring that change for the region. Tonight, though, it's going to be a mostly clear sky and a very warm evening and night for the Maritimes. There may be some coastal fog that develops around the southwest of Nova Scotia, locations like Yarmouth, but that should be dissipating or retreating off the coast as we make our way through Thursday morning, and then Thursday afternoon, like it was today, is going to be sunny, hot, and humid. Winds continue to get lighter as we make our way towards midnight. And tomorrow's winds for the Maritimes out of the west for most of the region, maybe a little bit more to the northwest for Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia, but mostly a light wind, sustained between about 10 and 20 kilometers per hour. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for a good portion of the Maritimes between about 15 and 20 degrees. There may be some lows right along the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick down to around 12 to 15. And same thing goes right up in the northwestern corner of New Brunswick. The fact that those areas tonight could be a little bit cooler is one of the reasons why those particular spots in the Maritimes are not underneath a heat warning at this time. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow, though. It's hot right across the north of New Brunswick. Most of the highs 30 to 33 degrees. Humidex values making it feel high 30s and some near 40. Same thing goes for central and southern areas of New Brunswick. A little bit of relief directly on the Bay of Fundy coastline, but it's very, very warm even for locations like Campobello and Grand Manan, around 28. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, high temperatures, high 20s near the coast, and then as you get away from the coast up into the low 30s, and humidex values making it feel mid to high 30s. Cape Breton for tomorrow, most of the high temperatures, high 20s, low 30s, especially hot towards the interior of the island. Low 30s around the north shore of mainland Nova Scotia. On the eastern shore, most of the high temperatures between 27 and 31. 30 for Amherst and 32 for Truro, and same thing goes for the city centers, Halifax and Dartmouth. Hot for the city for tomorrow. In the Annapolis Valley with high temperatures of around 32. Humidex values, though, making it feel into the high 30s. This will for much of the south shore of Nova Scotia, 32 at Liverpool and Shelburne. And again, those direct coastal areas in the southwest, temperatures a little bit more moderate, between about 24 and 26. Taking a look at the extended forecast. So heat wave extends all the way through Friday, and then after that changes for the weekend as that ridge begins to break down. Those weather fronts arrive from the west. Isolated showers, the risk of thunderstorms for New Brunswick on Saturday. Showers with the risk of thunderstorms on Sunday. Still looking very warm at the start of next week on Monday. Another front brings in some showers on Tuesday, and then temperatures closer to what is typical for this far into August by around the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. For Nova Scotia, very hot and humid through the end of this week. Humidity remains high through the weekend. It's a chance of showers on Saturday, risk of thunderstorms. Showers more likely on Sunday with a risk of thunderstorms. Very warm on Monday. Showers in the forecast for Tuesday of next week, then a mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday. And for Prince Edward Island, hot and humid conditions for both Thursday and Friday. Mostly sunny all the way through that stretch. And then on Saturday, chance of a shower. Risk of a thunderstorm. Temperatures come down a few degrees. Higher chance of showers. Risk of thunderstorms on Sunday. Temperatures cool a little bit more. On Monday, though, warm with a mix of sun and cloud. Showers for Tuesday and a mix of sun and cloud for Wednesday of next week. Jesse.
All right, thanks for that, Kalen. We'll check in with you later outside on the weather deck for Wake Up Weather. Next, we'll talk about the cost of heading back to school with retail analyst Bruce Winder. Stay with us. A lot more news.
With Aaron and Peter.
10 questions, 60 seconds. If you know all the answers, you're winning $1,000.
We play $1,000 Minute every weekday at 7 a.m.
Welcome back. It's that time of year again, and I hate to say it, when parents start searching for the back-to-school deals and with the cost of everything seemingly going up in price, what are parents' options, and are they sticking to their budgets this year? Joining us now to talk about that is Bruce Winder, a retail analyst and author who joins us from Toronto. Welcome, Bruce. It's back-to-school time, I guess, eh?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the program. Yeah, definitely. It's either a dreaded time or a great time, depending on your perspective.
I've been in the stores. I've seen all the pencil crayons and everything out, right? It's that time of year. But I think we also think about the high cost of all the goods when we're in those stores. And I think it's weighing on a lot of family budgets right now. I'm wondering, Bruce, what kind of strategies are Canadian shoppers adopting to maybe lower costs, especially as we get ready to go back to school?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, we all know we're in an affordability crisis right now, particularly folks, in the bottom half of the income ladder are really having a hard time. The elevated price of gas, there's so much uncertainty with the trade dispute with the U.S., job security, things like that. So, Canadians are, depending on which sort of segment you're in, if you're at the top segment of income, you're spending probably like never before. But if you're in that bottom, quartile or bottom half, you're having to take things and do things a little differently. And, what consumers are doing is everything from, waiting for sales, starting early to get the sales, thrifting more, trying to make items last maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years. So not replacing items as often, using hand-me-downs, things like that. So really anything and everything to try to stretch the dollar to get their kids through the season.
There's this golden rule, and I'm wondering if there's one for back to school, but they say, never go to the grocery store while you're hungry. I seem to make that mistake every time, right? It ends up in a free-for-all, a freelance session. But what are some of the biggest mistakes, say, parents make when they start shopping for back to school?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest mistakes is really impulse buying, without having a plan. You really need to have a budget and a plan and almost do an inventory of what you have now and what you need and stick to that. Don't get caught up in the mall at all the, the glitz and the glamour and start buying things that you already have or things that you can get another year out of. Also, don't buy anything at regular price. Try not to. Try to see if that's going to come on sale first.
Is there any advice around, say, online shopping? Does that save us any money on goods like we're seeing on our screen at this time of year for things like backpacks, pencil crayons, things like that? Or I'm even thinking, as you mentioned, thrifting, places like Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's lots of great deals online through folks like Amazon, but there's also lots of great deals in store too. So it really depends on what you have to look at both. Some folks are using AI agents now to try to see if the AI agent can help sort of serve up where the best value is that day or that week in their market. So folks are using AI as well as online as well as brick and mortar to see where they can get the best deals.
Speaking of brick and mortar, I'm wondering discount, dollar store type businesses. Is that type of shopping good for the pocketbook, or does it really matter?
No, I mean, if you look at the dollar store segment, you know, Dollarama, Dollar Tree, they've done really well on back to school over the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of folks have sort of channeled down. You know, they might have been shopping at Walmart, and now they're sort of trying to see if it's available at Dollarama or Dollar Tree just to try to save even more money. So, yeah, definitely dollar stores do really well and are great for consumers around this time of year.
I used to love this time of year, you know, getting your new pencil case, your binders, and all that kind of backpack and stuff like that. But when we talk about, you know, finding discount goods or secondhand, are there any goods where you just actually maybe want to spend a little bit more and get something quality and maybe it lasts a bit longer? Any thoughts around that, where actually spending a bit more actually makes more sense than, say, going for the cheaper alternative?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, maybe electronics. You want to be really careful with electronics. You don't want to buy a used electronic item if it breaks, you know, a month later. Something that your child can use for several years, you know, is something that you might want to invest in if you have the cash flow. Because you're right, you kind of get what you pay for, right? Usually, you know, for some items, you pay a little more, you get a higher spec, and it lasts longer. So that works in some cases.
What about the Buy Canadian pledge? You know, it wasn't so long ago we were in the grocery store looking for anything with a flag and trying not to buy from other countries. Are people still on that boat? Is that going into people's, you know, is that in the back of their mind as they're going and shopping for some of these items?
I think it is for a lot of people still, you know, because, you know, you look at President Trump's fresh tariff threat, you know, in a few days for 50% on goods. Canadians read about it all the time and they see it. So I think in the back of their mind, they want to buy Canadian as much as they can. Having said that, they also have to balance their pocketbook, right? You know, so they have to make sure they make ends meet first. But while doing so, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to buy Canadian.
Bruce, I'm you know, wondering as we wrap up here for time, we always, you know, get moving and then we have to say goodbye. But do you have, say, one piece of advice for parents, you know, one golden rule to help them save money for back to school? If so, what would it be?
I would say have a plan and a budget, and, you know, just stick to that budget. Don't go overboard. Don't get caught up in social media in the heat of the moment to buy things you might regret later.
Have a plan and stick to it, kind of my advice for me when I go to the grocery stores. You know, try to stick to that plan and have one. All right, cool. Well, Bruce, thanks for joining us. It's very topical, and you're always great with your advice on this. That's Bruce Winder. He's an author and retail analyst. Now, this brings us into tonight's viewer poll, and we're asking the question now in tonight's CTV web poll. What is the most important factor for when shopping for back-to-school supplies? Is it price, brand, or convenience? Let us know at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. We'll be back with more news after the break. Stick around. And in the Lifeline tonight, Health Canada has authorized Moderna to conduct a new clinical trial on a new vaccine for Ebola that has a Nova Scotia connection. CTV's Amanda Devison has more.
Health Canada has authorized Moderna to begin Canada's first clinical trial of an mRNA vaccine targeting a new strain of Ebola. The Phase 1 study will enroll 80 healthy adults in Truro, Halifax, and Toronto to assess safety, dosage, side effects, and antibody response. Participants will not be exposed to the Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus, which has killed more than 1,700 people in Congo and currently has no approved vaccine or treatment. Moderna will still need successful Phase 2 and 3 trials before seeking Health Canada approval for wider use. South of the border, a new study shows marijuana use in the United States has now surpassed cigarette smoking. The research shows in 2025, nearly 44 million Americans use marijuana, while 36 million smoked cigarettes. Marijuana use was highest among young adults between 18 and 25, while cigarette use was highest among adults 26 and older. It's unclear why more people are using marijuana, whether smoking, edibles, or vaping. 41 states have legalized a medical version of it, with 24 states now allowing its recreational use. Despite marijuana's growing popularity, alcohol use far exceeds marijuana and cigarettes. The study found nearly 130 million Americans currently drink alcohol, and 44% of those are binge drinkers. Finally, snoring is a common problem that affects millions of people, but experts say sometimes it can be a sign of something more serious.
So lots of people do snore, and that's just the sound of air moving through your airway whenever your airway's relaxed and you're asleep. And that can be a normal thing, just a sound, but other times it could be a sign of something deeper. Maybe it's a sign that there may be a blockage or an obstruction, something that could be called sleep apnea.
Sleep specialist Dr. Brian Chen says sleep apnea happens when a person stops breathing while they're sleeping, which can lead to long-term health issues or even death. Other causes for snoring can include being sick, having a deviated septum, allergies, and even your sleep position. Dr. Chen says there are situations where medical intervention may be necessary. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Welcome back on the markets now. The Dow ended the day up 263 points, and Shopify shares shot up today after the company shared its earnings. B&M Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
Analysts say Shopify had monster growth in its latest quarter. The shares ended the day up over 15% after the release of earnings. Shopify reported about $3.6 billion U.S. in revenue, 34% better year over year. Shopify provides businesses with an online platform and takes a cut of sales. The Ottawa-based firm says customer traffic and orders driven by AI tripled in its latest quarter. Suncor also reported earnings. The oil giant had net earnings of $3.7 billion, more than $1.5 billion better year over year. Higher oil prices resulting from the Middle East conflict helped Suncor to beat estimates. Thomson Reuters reported earnings as well. The Canadian content and technology company says revenue for its latest quarter came in at just under $2 billion U.S. The CEO says the company's focusing on developing AI applications for its legal, accounting, and audit businesses. Still, shares sank, with investors worried that AI will replace, not help, their business. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.37 U.S. West Texas Intermediate is down to 75.22 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select is down over $7 to 59.29. And the TSX shot up 344 points today to a record close above 36,000 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
All right, let's go to Kaylin Mitchell, who's outside on the weather deck. It's humid in the building, Kaylin. I can imagine it's feeling like...
It's the same out here, Jesse. Yeah, it's a very warm and muggy evening out here in the north end of Halifax. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. Beautiful. St. John, New Brunswick, maybe one of the more comfortable parts of the Maritimes to be in for today. Temperatures just a little bit more moderate around the coast. This picture shared by Kevin Carpenter. I want to thank Kevin very much. And I want to wish Kevin's parents, James and Muriel Carpenter, a very happy 65th wedding anniversary. Congratulations, James and Muriel. For tomorrow, for St. John, it's more of the same. It's going to be a sunny and hot day. High temperature will be near 30 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow around the Maritime region in the morning, mostly sunny and very warm. Some fog patches possible for some coastal areas, including possibly parts of the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, but mostly the southwestern coastline of Nova Scotia. The afternoon, like today, will be sunny, hot, and humid. Most of the high temperatures reaching the high 20s and low 30s. Higher humidex values and just a little bit of a light wind out of the west to stir that hot air around. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic, the power of art.
Yes, we'll chat with a Nova Scotia artist who creates textured floral artwork while inspiring others to embrace their own creativity.
Start your morning with us Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
All right, earlier in the show, we talked about whales in Cape Breton. Let's go to Buffalo, where we're talking about a critically endangered Addax calf that's getting ready to meet some visitors at the zoo there in Buffalo. Zookeepers say the young addax is healthy, active, and spending plenty of time exploring its habitat while staying close to mom, as you see there. The baby doesn't have a name yet. The birth marks the 25th addax born at the Buffalo Zoo since 1991. Addax are a type of antelope known for their white X-shaped markings on their faces. While the species once roamed parts of North Africa, experts estimate there are only about 100 addax remaining in the wild due to threats including habitat loss and poaching. Learn something new every day, right? That's it for us here tonight for our 6 p.m. show. I'll be back here for your late news at 11:30. Hope to see you then. And for a look at any of our stories and more details, visit ctvnewsatlantic.ca. We update that website anytime throughout the day. Good night, everybody.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.